Have you ever felt like everything you trusted in was turned upside down? Imagine discovering the person you love most, the one you've built your entire life with, has been hiding a secret, one that shakes the very foundation of everything you thought you knew. This is the story of Jake, a man who, like so many of us, believed he had it all. A beautiful marriage, a steady job, and a future full of dreams. But when an unexpected discovery shatters his world, he finds himself at a crossroads. Betrayal, revenge, and redemption, Jake's journey takes him down a path he never thought he'd walk, one that challenges his beliefs, his values, and ultimately, his very identity. In today's video, we'll dive into Jake's gripping story, his struggle, his triumphs, and the choices he made when everything changed. But as we go along, we'll see that sometimes, in the darkest of times, you can find the strength to start anew. So, grab a seat, relax, and let's embark on this emotional roller coaster together. Trust me, you won't want to miss a moment. Jake Turner, a mild-mannered accountant, had always trusted his wife, Grace. They had built a life together, both personally and financially, and had been married for over 5 years. They had just purchased a new house and had started planning for their future. But everything changed one quiet evening when Jake discovered a pregnancy test tucked away in Grace's bag. It was positive. He initially thought it was a surprise, perhaps a beautiful new chapter in their life together. He was about to celebrate, until he overheard a conversation between Grace and a man named Daniel Rhodes, her colleague at the local art gallery. Jake, still shaken, heard Grace confess that the child wasn't his but Daniel's. His heart sank. He never expected such a betrayal from someone he loved so much. But it wasn't just the affair that rattled him. Jake soon discovered a series of cryptic messages and financial transactions between Grace and Daniel that hinted at something much deeper. Grace and Daniel were planning a future together, and Jake was just a pawn in their game. Devastated and overwhelmed, Jake went into a state of shock. He needed time to process what had just happened. After a week of sleepless nights and anxiety, Jake started gathering himself. The quiet accountant who had once trusted his wife with his heart and soul was now filled with rage, betrayal, and a thirst for justice. Jake wasn't sure how to respond initially, but the one thing he knew was that he couldn't let Grace, or Daniel, get away with this. He began tracking her movements, installed a few hidden cameras in their house, and paid closer attention to her interactions. It didn't take long for him to uncover more secrets: large withdrawals from their joint account, unexplained absences, and late-night phone calls. Once the shock had worn off, Jake decided to take control of the situation. He knew that without a solid legal strategy, he wouldn't have a chance in court. He hired a lawyer, Marcus Harper, who specialized in divorce cases and financial protection. They carefully studied the legal options available to him. Jake had to be strategic. He couldn't act impulsively or risk losing everything he had worked for. Jake also began quietly researching ways to protect his assets. He moved money into accounts that Grace wouldn't have access to and worked with Marcus to figure out how he could ensure custody of their dog, Samson, and their house. The next step was to gather undeniable proof of Grace's infidelity and financial misdeeds. Jake knew that exposing Grace's affair would not be enough. Daniel Rhodes had to be taken down too. He began spending more time at the art gallery, pretending to be interested in its exhibitions. Jake even offered to help Daniel with some of his financial issues, establishing a rapport with him. While doing this, Jake made sure to gather as much dirt on Daniel as possible. He learned that Daniel had been involved in a shady investment deal and had siphoned money from his own family business to support his lavish lifestyle. Jake passed this information to his lawyer and began creating a plan to take Daniel down, not just for the affair, but for his financial crimes as well. Jake decided to distance himself from Grace temporarily. He rented an apartment nearby and began monitoring her every move, using the hidden cameras he had installed. He kept track of her meetings with Daniel and used the time away to gather more evidence. Jake was careful not to reveal his intentions to Grace, all the while feeding her the illusion that everything was fine. Jake also sent an anonymous tip to Daniel's wife, Emma, with all the proof of his affair with Grace. This led to Emma confronting Daniel, and soon, their marriage was falling apart. The day of reckoning came when Jake returned to the house, ready to face Grace. He sat her down and presented all the evidence, the photos of her with Daniel, the financial documents, and the conversations he had overheard. Grace's face went pale as she realized that Jake had known everything. Jake was calm and composed. "Grace, you've lied to me for months. You took everything we had built together and threw it away for a man who doesn't care about you. You're not only destroying our marriage, but you've also been stealing from me, our savings, our future, our trust. I'm done." He then dropped another bombshell: he had already sold the house. Grace would have to move out immediately. Jake filed for divorce on the grounds of infidelity and financial fraud, and within weeks, Grace was left with nothing but the clothes on her back. The consequences for Grace and Daniel were swift and brutal. Grace lost her job at a law firm after an internal investigation into her financial dealings was launched. The withdrawals from Jake's accounts had been traced back to her, and the authorities pressed charges for embezzlement. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Daniel fared no better. His affair with Grace, combined with his shady financial activities, led to his expulsion from the art gallery. His wife Emma filed for divorce, and he was publicly disgraced. The community he once enjoyed a position of respect in turned against him, and Daniel found himself isolated and alone. In the months that followed, Jake moved to San Francisco, where he started fresh. He used his experience and pain to fuel his new career as a teacher and counselor, focusing on helping couples who were struggling with fertility issues and emotional trauma. He also volunteered at an adoption center, working with children in need of loving homes. Jake had found purpose again. He used his pain as a platform for helping others, turning his grief into a mission for personal growth. While his past was filled with loss, he saw his future as one of healing, hope, and new beginnings. As Jake settled into his new life in San Francisco, the lessons he had learned began to affect not just his own life but also those around him. His work at the adoption center gave him a sense of fulfillment he had never experienced before. Every day, he met children with stories of hardship and loss, and every day, he helped them see that their past didn't have to define their future. But Jake didn't stop there. He realized that the emotional scars he had carried for so long weren't just his own, they were shared by many people who had been through similar experiences of betrayal, heartbreak, and loss. He began to host support groups for men and women who had faced infidelity, where they could talk openly about their pain, healing, and the difficult path forward. The group grew quickly, with people from all walks of life joining in, seeking understanding and connection. Jake became more than just a counselor, he became a mentor and a beacon of hope for those who felt lost and helpless. He shared his own journey, explaining how he had turned the pain of betrayal into an opportunity for growth. It wasn't easy, but he helped them see that they weren't alone. Through these support groups, Jake also began to get involved in local community outreach programs, focusing on helping families in need and supporting single parents. He worked with local organizations to offer emotional and financial counseling to people struggling after divorces or breakups. Slowly but surely, Jake had become a pillar in the community, a symbol of resilience and the power of starting over. It wasn't just his work that was changing. One day, while at a cafe near the adoption center, Jake ran into someone unexpected, Emma, Daniel's ex-wife. At first, he was hesitant. After all, Emma was the one person who could have, and maybe should have, confronted him about his own behavior. But what he saw in her eyes wasn't anger or blame, it was a shared understanding of pain. Emma had heard about Jake's work with the support groups and community outreach, and she approached him to express her gratitude. "I've heard what you've been doing for people like us, Jake," she said, her voice calm but sincere. "I just wanted to say thank you." Over the course of several conversations, Jake learned about Emma's journey, how she had faced not only Daniel's betrayal but also her own struggles with self-worth and rebuilding her life. Her story mirrored his in many ways, but she had come through it in a different way, finding strength in herself and her children. The more they spoke, the more they realized that, despite everything, they had both healed. They had learned how to forgive not just the people who hurt them, but themselves as well. Their friendship blossomed into something more. Neither of them rushed into a new relationship, but over time, they began to explore the possibility of love again. Both knew that they had a unique understanding of one another's pain and growth, and together, they discovered that healing didn't just happen alone, it happened with others who understood. Months passed, and Jake's life continued to evolve. With Emma by his side, he found that he could embrace love again, but this time, it was different. He wasn't relying on someone else to fill the emptiness within him, rather, he was able to offer love and support in a way that was healthy, balanced, and grounded. Emma had done the same for herself, and together, they created a partnership built on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. Jake's work as a counselor continued to flourish, and with Emma's encouragement, he began offering couples therapy alongside his individual counseling sessions. Their combined efforts allowed them to help people not only heal from betrayal and loss but also learn how to build strong, lasting relationships based on communication and trust. They soon expanded their outreach programs, offering retreats for couples struggling with communication and trust issues, and for individuals working to heal from emotional wounds. Jake and Emma's professional and personal lives had intertwined in ways they never thought possible. What began as a shared pain had turned into a shared mission to help others. In time, Jake became a well-known figure in the city's counseling and relationship-building community. He received invitations to speak at conferences and seminars, where he shared his story of overcoming betrayal and turning pain into purpose. He had found a new mission in life, to help others understand that the end of one chapter could be the beginning of something far greater. One quiet evening, as Jake sat on the balcony of their apartment with Emma, he reflected on how far he had come. He never would have imagined that the painful moments from his past could transform into something so meaningful. "What a journey," he said, looking out at the city lights. "It's incredible how we can move from heartbreak to healing, isn't it?" Emma smiled, her hand resting gently in his. "I think it's even more incredible that we found each other through it all. We weren't just survivors of betrayal, we're examples of what can happen when we choose to heal and help others heal, too." Jake nodded. "It wasn't easy, but I think it was worth it. I think we're both stronger for everything we've been through." They both knew that life would continue to throw challenges their way. But now, they had each other, and they had the knowledge that no matter what came next, they could face it together. They had found a way to move forward, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. Jake and Emma's work didn't stop at just writing a best-selling book. With their newfound success, they realized that there were far more people in need of support than they could reach in their local community. It wasn't long before they decided to expand their outreach nationwide. They launched a non-profit organization called Healing Hearts, dedicated to helping individuals and couples who had faced emotional trauma, infidelity, and personal loss. Their mission was to provide accessible resources, everything from counseling sessions and support groups to educational content and wellness retreats. They even worked to provide scholarships for those who couldn't afford therapy but were committed to healing. Their organization quickly gained recognition, and soon, people from all across the country were attending their workshops and therapy sessions. Healing Hearts became a beacon of hope for those struggling with the same issues Jake and Emma had once faced. What started as a personal journey had now turned into a movement focused on personal growth, self-love, and emotional healing. With the help of other professionals in the field, Jake and Emma began to curate training programs for counselors and therapists. They shared their unique approach to healing and therapy, emphasizing the importance of empathy, trust, and understanding in the healing process. This not only elevated their status as thought leaders but also allowed them to build a supportive network of professionals who shared their vision. As their nonprofit organization grew, Jake and Emma found themselves traveling frequently to speak at conferences, collaborate with other healing professionals, and connect with those they were helping. Though they had both found peace and purpose in their work, they never stopped growing personally. They continued to attend therapy sessions of their own, to check in with their progress, and to explore how they could continue to evolve as individuals and as a couple. One of the most profound realizations they had was the importance of balance. In the past, they had both been consumed by pain, Jake by the betrayal, Emma by her own struggles. But now, they knew that healing wasn't just about overcoming pain, it was about fostering joy, gratitude, and personal fulfillment. They made it a priority to travel, take time for themselves, and to enjoy the simple pleasures of life. They also began a tradition of giving back to the communities that had supported them along the way. Whether it was volunteering at shelters, hosting charity events, or donating a portion of their book proceeds, Jake and Emma made it clear that their work wasn't just about their own success, it was about creating a lasting impact. As the years passed, Jake and Emma found themselves not just as partners in work, but in life. They had built something meaningful together, both professionally and personally, but they also knew that the future was unpredictable. They were not immune to the challenges of life, they knew that they would face setbacks and obstacles along the way. But they were ready for whatever came their way. They had proven that love could be rebuilt, that the worst moments could be turned into opportunities for growth, and that even the most painful wounds could heal. In time, Jake proposed to Emma in a quiet, intimate ceremony. It was a beautiful moment, a testament to everything they had been through and everything they had accomplished together. They had come full circle. From the depths of betrayal, they had built a life founded on love, trust, and understanding. Together, they made a commitment not just to each other, but to the future they would continue to create, a future of healing, hope, and a legacy that would continue to inspire others long after their work was done. Years later, Healing Hearts had become one of the most successful and influential organizations in the country, touching the lives of millions. Jake and Emma's story had spread far beyond the pages of their book, it had become a model for others to follow. They had reached a point where their work had transformed the way people viewed healing and emotional recovery. Jake often reflected on how different his life had been before he had experienced the betrayal. He had once been a man broken by heartache, but he had chosen to turn that pain into something meaningful, and in doing so, he had not only healed himself but had helped countless others do the same. Emma, too, had found her place in the world, a woman who had once struggled with insecurity and self-doubt but had become an advocate for those who needed support. Together, they had created a life that was not defined by their past, but by the future they were building. They had learned the importance of forgiveness, not just for others, but for themselves. And as the organization flourished, they both knew that this was only the beginning. They had written their story, but they had no intention of letting it end there. There were still people out there who needed to hear it, still lives to be touched, and still work to be done. They continued to speak at conferences, write articles, and share their story, all while maintaining a life grounded in love and humility. Their mission had always been about empowering others to heal, and they remained committed to that mission for as long as they could. As the years went on, Jake and Emma began mentoring a new generation of counselors, teachers, and leaders who were passionate about helping people recover from emotional trauma. They wanted to ensure that their legacy would live on even after they stepped back from the spotlight. They took great pride in watching their men's grow, knowing that the work they had started would continue to spread far and wide. One day, as they sat together in their office, Jake looked at Emma and smiled. "Can you believe how far we've come?" he asked, reflecting on the road they had traveled. Emma smiled back, her eyes full of gratitude and pride. "I'm not sure I could have ever imagined this journey," she said. "But I'm so glad we took it together." And with that, they both knew that their story wasn't just about healing their own hearts, it was about creating a ripple effect that would continue for generations to come. As Healing Hearts grew, Jake and Emma realized that the need for emotional healing and support wasn't just a local issue, it was a global one. They began receiving requests from therapists, organizations, and individuals from around the world, seeking to learn from their experiences and apply their methods in different cultural contexts. Inspired by the growing demand, Jake and Emma decided to expand Healing Hearts into an international organization. They held their first global conference in Paris, where they invited professionals from various countries to exchange ideas, discuss cultural differences in handling emotional trauma, and explore new ways to provide support to individuals in crisis. The conference was a turning point. It attracted experts from different fields, psychologists, counselors, educators, and even celebrities who had publicly shared their own experiences with personal pain. The event became a platform for learning, connection, and collaboration, and it marked the beginning of a movement that transcended borders. As Healing Hearts expanded internationally, Jake and Emma made sure to stay grounded in their original mission, to help people heal, not just by offering therapy, but by creating communities of support where individuals could share their struggles and find strength in each other's stories. With their organization spreading to new countries and their influence growing, Jake and Emma faced new challenges. As they spent more time traveling the world to train new therapists, conduct workshops, and meet with international partners, they found it harder to maintain the same level of personal time they had once enjoyed. They recognized that they had to be intentional about maintaining their relationship and their own well-being, despite the increasing demands on their time. They made it a priority to schedule regular vacations, stay connected with their children, who had grown up to become involved in the organization as well, and continue nurturing the bond they had worked so hard to build over the years. During one of their trips to Australia, they visited a remote town that had been severely impacted by natural disasters. The community had suffered not only from the physical destruction but also from the emotional toll of the trauma. Jake and Emma offered free therapy sessions, worked with local volunteers, and helped the community rebuild their support system. As they spent time with the residents, they realized that healing was not just about individual therapy, it was about collective recovery. In this small town, Jake and Emma began the first community-based Healing Hearts program, where survivors of the disaster could support one another through shared experiences and resources. The program became a model for future community-based healing initiatives worldwide. With their success, Jake and Emma recognized that to truly create lasting change, they needed to leave behind something that could be built upon long after they were gone. They began developing educational programs to teach future generations of counselors and therapists how to support people through trauma, betrayal, and recovery. They created online courses, masterclasses, and certifications that not only covered the technical aspects of counseling but also emphasized the importance of emotional intelligence, empathy, and understanding. These programs allowed professionals from all walks of life to become certified Healing Hearts practitioners, ensuring that their teachings would be passed on to countless individuals in need. These educational resources quickly became a go-to tool for universities, training centers, and other institutions seeking to improve their own counseling programs. Jake and Emma's curriculum had a unique, holistic approach that incorporated real-life experiences, not just academic theory, making it highly practical and effective. As the years went by, Jake and Emma found joy in watching their children, who had grown up witnessing their parents' transformation, follow in their footsteps. Their oldest daughter, Lily, joined the Healing Hearts organization as a family therapist, bringing her own perspective to the work. Their son, Max, became an advocate for children's mental health and started a program to support kids dealing with emotional trauma at school. Together, the family became a symbol of healing, showing that personal pain didn't have to be a burden, it could be the very thing that shaped someone into a compassionate, empathetic person capable of changing the world. Jake and Emma's children had learned from the examples set by their parents that healing wasn't just about moving forward, it was about understanding the past, embracing the future, and helping others along the way. With the success of their educational programs and the growing demand for their workshops, Jake and Emma launched global healing retreats. These retreats were designed to offer individuals the chance to disconnect from their everyday lives, reflect on their personal journeys, and learn valuable tools for emotional recovery. Held in peaceful locations around the world, from the mountains of New Zealand to the beaches of Bali, these retreats allowed people to immerse themselves in a healing environment. Attendees participated in workshops on self-love, forgiveness, and trauma recovery, while also engaging in outdoor activities like yoga, hiking, and meditation to reconnect with themselves. The retreats quickly gained a reputation for being life-changing. They offered a unique space where people could not only heal from past trauma but also create lasting connections with others who had similar experiences. Jake and Emma personally led many of the retreats, sharing their stories and offering support while teaching practical skills for emotional resilience. One evening, as Jake and Emma sat on a balcony overlooking a beautiful sunset in Greece, they took a moment to reflect on everything they had accomplished. Their work had touched the lives of millions, and they had created a lasting legacy that would continue long after they were gone. Their children, their employees, and the many people they had helped had carried the torch forward. "I never thought it would turn out like this," Jake said, a soft smile on his face. "I never imagined that our pain would lead to this, a global movement." Emma reached over, taking his hand. "Neither did I. But look at what we've created. We've given people the tools to heal, to start over, and to create their own legacies." Together, they knew that the work they had started had no end in sight. The world was still full of pain, but it was also full of hope. Their journey had been one of personal transformation, and through that transformation, they had helped others begin their own. As Jake and Emma grew older, they made a conscious decision to step back from the day-to-day operations of Healing Hearts, entrusting the organization to the next generation of leaders. Their children, along with the dedicated team they had built, were ready to continue the work they had started. In a final ceremony to celebrate the organization's achievements, Jake and Emma stood before a large audience of supporters, counselors, and volunteers. They shared one last message, expressing their gratitude and hope for the future. "Our journey has been one of healing and love," Jake said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "But this isn't the end. It's just another chapter. The work continues, and it will continue long after we're gone. Because healing is a lifelong process, and the world is full of people who need our help." Emma added, "We've all been through something painful. But the real victory is how we rise from it, how we transform our pain into something greater. And that's what Healing Hearts is all about, helping others rise, just like we did." As they left the stage, hand in hand, they knew they had done everything they could. They had built something that would live on in the hearts of those they had touched. Jake and Emma's story was not just their own. Over the years of tireless work, they witnessed inspiring stories from those who had joined Healing Hearts, people who had walked through pain and found new hope. One story that particularly filled them with pride was that of Sarah, a woman who came to Healing Hearts after losing her beloved husband to cancer. Sarah had initially joined the program in a state of complete devastation, feeling that her loss was irreparable. But through the support from the Healing Hearts team, she learned how to love herself again and rediscovered her passion for life. After completing the program, Sarah began working at an organization that helps cancer patients and their families, spreading the message of strength and recovery. Sarah was just one of thousands of stories of transformation that Jake and Emma had witnessed. This made them realize that their work wasn't only about personal healing, but about creating a strong community where each person could find hope and new meaning in life. As the years went by, Jake and Emma realized one thing: no matter how the world changed, what they had created would always remain. They saw the next generation of professionals, couples, and families healing together, no longer afraid to face the past. One quiet evening, Jake sat by the window with a warm cup of coffee in his hands, looking out. They had accomplished so much, but he felt that their journey wasn't over yet. "Do you think we've done enough?" Jake asked, turning to Emma. Emma smiled gently. "We've done wonderful things, Jake. But we can't end a story like this. There are still too many people who need us, and we can still help. So, we keep going, right?" Jake replied, a new determination in his eyes. "Yes," Emma said, holding his hand. "Because this journey isn't just ours, it's for all those who need healing." As time passed, Jake and Emma gradually stepped back from the day-to-day operations of Healing Hearts. They handed over the leadership to a group of like-minded and passionate individuals, especially their children, Lily and Max, who had grown into capable leaders within the organization. Before completely stepping away from the spotlight, Jake and Emma held a small farewell ceremony at Healing Hearts, where all the participants, professionals, and families who had been with them over the years came together. It was a moment to reflect on everything they had achieved and to pass on the mission to the next generation. "Thank you all for being with us," Jake said at the farewell ceremony, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "What matters is not what we've done, but what you will continue to do, to help others." Emma added, "Everything we've done wasn't just for us, it was for each of you. We are proud to see that Healing Hearts is not just an organization, but a global family. And we will continue to help those who need healing, never stopping." With a smooth transition, Healing Hearts continued to grow under the leadership of Lily and Max, who followed in their parents' footsteps, carrying forward the core values of compassion, love, and perseverance. They expanded the organization to new countries, building a network of professionals and launching projects to support individuals facing challenges in life. Jake and Emma, though no longer directly involved in the daily work, still kept an eye on the progress and participated in important conversations. They knew that the organization would continue to live on with the values and mission they had started. And so, their story continued to be written, not only in the programs, courses, and workshops but also in the hearts of those they had touched. One late autumn evening, as Jake and Emma sat together in their peaceful home, they gazed at the vibrant sunset. They no longer had the worries they once did, no longer carried the weight of past pain. Instead, they saw life filled with new possibilities, with bright futures ahead. "Have we done something truly great?" Jake asked, his voice low but filled with emotion. Emma looked at him, her eyes shining with pride. "Yes. We've helped so many people find themselves. And the most important thing is that we found each other on this journey." With a firm handhold, they looked ahead. They didn't need to say anything else. They both knew that the legacy they left behind would not just exist in books or lectures but in the millions of hearts they had touched. And so, Jake and Emma's story came to an end, but the journey of healing continues. Jake's journey wasn't easy, but through his pain, he found strength. His story reminds us that even in the face of betrayal, we have the power to rebuild our lives, learn from our struggles, and create something new. No matter where you are in your own journey, remember, you are not alone. There's always a path forward, even when it seems impossible. Sometimes, the hardest moments bring the greatest transformations. If you found this story inspiring, or if you've ever experienced something similar, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts or experiences. Let's start a conversation, because your story matters too. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another journey of hope, strength, and redemption. We've got many more stories to share, and I'd love for you to be part of this community. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, keep believing in your strength.